Namaskar, Jai Shri Krishna. Enlightening text 23 and text 24 of chapter 7, Scheduled Incarnations with specific functions of second canto, the cosmic manifestation of Srimad Bhagavatam. Text 23. Asmat prasada sumukha kalaya kalesha ikshavaku vamsha avatirya guror nideshe nishthan vanam sadai tanuja avivesha yasmin viruddhya Dashakandhara Arti Marchata. Due to his causeless mercy upon all living entities within the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with his plenary extensions, appeared in the family of Maharaj Ikshavaku as the lord of his internal potency Sita. Under the order of his father Maharaj Dashrath, he entered the forest and lived there for considerable years with his wife and younger brother. Ravan, who was very materially powerful, with 10 heads on his shoulders, committed a great offense against him and was thus ultimately vanquished. Lord Ram is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his brothers, namely Bharat, Lakshman and Shatrughna, were his plenary expansions. All four brothers are Vishnu Tattva and were never ordinary human beings. There are many unscrupulous and ignorant commentators on Ramayana who present the younger brothers of Lord Ramachandra as ordinary living entities. But here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the most authentic scripture on the science of Godhead, it is clearly stated that his brothers were his plenary expansions. Originally, Lord Ramachandra is the incarnation of Vasudeva, Lakshman is the incarnation of Sankarshana, Bharat is the incarnation of Pradyumna, and Shatrughna is the incarnation of Aniruddha, expansions of the personality of Godhead. Lakshmi ji, Sita is the internal potency of the Lord and is neither an ordinary woman nor the external potency incarnation of Durga. Durga is the external potency of the Lord and she is associated with Lord Shiv. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 4.7, the Lord appears when there are discrepancies in the discharge of factual religion. Lord Ramachandra also appeared under the same circumstances accompanied by his brothers who are expansions of the Lord's internal potency and by Lakshmi ji Sita Devi. Lord Ramachandra was ordered by his father Maharaj Dashrath to leave home for the forest under awkward circumstances, and the Lord, as an ideal son of his father, carried out the order even on the occasion of his being declared the king of Ayodhya. One of his younger brothers, Lakshmanji, desired to go with him, and so also his eternal wife Sita desired to go with him. The Lord agreed to both of them, and altogether they entered the Dantakaranya forest to live there for 14 years. During their stay in a forest, there was some quarrel between Ramachandra and Ravan, and the latter kidnapped the Lord's wife, Sita. The quarrel ended in the vanquishing of the greatly powerful Ravan along with all his kingdom and family. Sita is Lakshmiji, or the goddess of fortune, but she is never to be enjoyed by any living being. She is meant for being worshipped by the living being along with her husband Shri Ramachandra. A materialistic man like Ravan does not understand this great truth, but on the contrary, he wants to snatch Sita Devi from the custody of Ram and thus incurs great miseries. The materialists who are after opulence and material prosperity may take lessons from the Ramayana that the policy of exploiting the nature of the Lord without acknowledging the supremacy of the Supreme Lord is the policy of Ravan. Ravan was very advanced materially, so much so that he turned his kingdom Lanka into pure gold or full material wealth. But because he did not recognize the supremacy of Lord Ramachandra and defied him by stealing his wife Sita, Ravan was killed and all his opulence and power were destroyed. Lord Ramachandra is a full incarnation with 6 opulences in full, and he is therefore mentioned in this verse as Kalesha, or master of all opulence. Text 24. Yasma adaduda nirudha bhayanka vepo margam sapadya ripuram haravada ti takshoha dure surun mathit rosh sushona drushtya tatapya manam karor ganakra chakraha. The personality of Godhead Ramachandra, being aggrieved for his distant intimate wife Sita, glanced over the city of the enemy Ravan with red hot eyes like those of Hare who wanted to burn the kingdom of heaven. The great ocean, trembling in fear, gave him his way because its family members, the aquatics like the sharks, snakes and crocodiles, were being burned by the heat of the angry, red-hot eyes of the Lord. The personality of Godhead has every sentiment of a sentient being like all other living beings because he is the chief and original living entity, the supreme source of all other living beings. He is the Nitya of the chief eternal amongst all other eternals. He is the chief one and all others are the dependent many. The many eternals are supported by the one eternal and thus both the eternals are qualitatively one. Due to such oneness, both the eternals constitutionally have a complete range of sentiments, but the difference is that the sentiments of the chief eternal are different in quantity from the sentiments of the dependent eternals. When Ramachandra was angry and showed his red hot eyes, the whole ocean became heated with that energy, so much so that the aquatics within the great ocean felt the heat and the personified ocean trembled in fear and offered the Lord an easy path for reaching the enemy city. The impersonalists will see havoc in this red hot sentiment of the Lord because they want to see negation in perfection. Because the Lord is absolute, the impersonalists imagine that in the absolute, the sentiment of anger, which resembles mundane sentiments, must be conspicuous by absence. Due to a poor fund of knowledge, they do not realize that the sentiment of the absolute person is transcendental to all mundane concepts of quality and quantity. Had Lord Ramachandra's sentiment been of mundane origin, how could it disturb the whole ocean and its inhabitants? Can any mundane red hot eye generate heat in the great ocean? These are factors to be distinguished in terms of the personal and impersonal conceptions of the absolute truth. As it is said in the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the absolute truth is the source of everything, so the absolute person cannot be devoid of the sentiments that are reflected in the temporary mundane world. Rather, the different sentiments found in the absolute, either in anger or in mercy, have the same qualitative influence, or in other words, there is no mundane difference of value because these sentiments are all on the absolute plane. Such sentiments are definitely not absent in the absolute, as the impersonalists think, making their mundane estimation of the transcendental world. Hare Krishna.